That's a good
Small
question. I mean, that's funnily enough, that's what I was thinking towards the end. I'm watching it a long time, so yeah, it was a kind of refreshing experience. But I don't know. I keep kind of coming back to this idea of well, to start with, it was more of a kind of like introspective sort of study, just sort of filming commentary in the place I grew up with, the people I grew up with. So and a lot of that footage didn't make film. So yeah, just social clubs and old video shop and off license and chippy, and just those sort of idiosyncratic details that yeah, I just wanted to kind of enshrine and protect, and yeah, use the format 16mm to kind of try and make something that was yes, celebratory, but and align the kind of sense of fragility and impermanence. And that just kind of got completely out of control over 6 to 7 years of yeah, just constant sort of. I mean, it sort of went from kind of introspection to the opposite, and a kind of fascination with discovery really, and dispelling. I mean, yeah, as things went on, it felt like a kind of sense of duty to sort of, you know, go and interact with people that I never have done, but have always been fascinated by from far, mostly through kind of studying social documentary photography, or photographers rather, back in uni. So yeah, I just kind of, yeah, I wanted to make a kind of body of work like people like Chris Killip or Tish Murtha or Shirley Baker, and could, you know, reel them all out, and but felt, yeah, the only way I could sort of do something that wouldn't be with it kind of in their shadows, but kind of just a step in my own direction, was to, yeah, get the Sunny camera out.
Well, I really think you cast your own shadow with that film. You know, I mean, how do you like wrap a project like that? I mean, obviously it took 7+ years to make. How do you? When do you think you will wrap a project like this, when the country goes through so much? Like, I was watching it thinking, like, just life isn't normal. Like there was just brief sort of intimate moments of normality, and then it felt like we've been, as a nation and community, we've been through a lot, and like you could say you were there. So I guess my next question is, given that you film witnesses so many extraordinary moments, some subtle and intimate, and others quite intimidating and violent, how did you negotiate your way through those events behind the scenes? You were clearly very close to a lot of the action, a lot of sort of personal experiences. How did you do that?
On the more dangerous side, probably naivety mixed with my fascination, and yeah, just the camera I use is a sole 1960s Bolex cine camera, so kind of knocking about with a moustache and this sort of ancient, you know, man with a movie color relic, sort of puts people at ease to a degree and makes you quite unusual in space. And yeah, most of the time that works in my favour in terms of kind of getting people's trust, whether it's in, you know, a big sort of you know, act of protest, sort of, you know, lots of people about, or privately. And yeah, it's just a kind of like it kind of puts me at ease, I suppose, and others at ease. But yeah, it only lasts so long. I mean, recently it's a kind of thorn in my side, to kind of disappear and just be a pure observer, which was the kind of ethos behind the whole thing, to just kind of bear witness as purely as possible, without kind of swinging or have swinging in terms of opinion, or trying to make an opinion piece, or, you know, I feel like we're so oversaturated and over manipulated really, and yeah, I just kind of mean, personally, yeah. I mean, it's almost like therapeutic to a degree to kind of go and see it all and have and kind of a kind of clarity of mind and sort of getting a sense of actual reality instead of the reality, the theatrics that are kind of orchestrated by kind of traditional media. So, yeah, I think just to be present and be a sponge, but also try and not be present. It's a kind of abstract.
Great.
I think about it all the time. I mean, but beyond the kind of methodology, like the strictness and limitations, you know, it's kind of the discipline kind of makes you overly cautious and many times doesn't go your way, but there's just a sort of you know, your end of the day, you're kind of like you're literally recording life onto a piece of material. Just, I don't know, there's something really special about it and real, you know. It's another kind of like, it's an object but it's more the sort of I find, you know, if you kind of like try and remember something, it's the closest it kind of gets to sort of like a memory made into sort of matter. And you know, well, for me anyway, can't speak for everyone else, but you know, if I sort of recollect on those events, they're quite like abstract, grainy, sort of, you know, almost like moving but sort of not. So it's a chap named Stefan Smith, who's London based, and his partner Zayn Nazir, who did the vocal compositions. So the Siren in the Seas was all her. They sort of collaborated on the soundtrack side. Well, on the vocal side, but yeah, it was at times a kind of forensic but also loose and raw approach, I guess. And again, the camera I use, you can't sync sound, so everything's done separate. So it kind of the image exists, you know, and then the sound is kind of like very much sort of placed upon it, and that process is I mean, a very old one, but it frees up the approach you can make, the sort of sound paint you can stick on the canvas, I guess. And yeah, just it was just important to kind of make sure that we approached it with a sense of liberty, and yeah, just trying to kind of weave in a sense of, you know, reality and, you know, the surreal really, and yeah, kind of entering sort of you know, the sort of not dream logic, but certainly that sense of something beyond the kind of you know, our need for somewhere. Yeah, just yeah, I think I forget something I said to Zaina as inspo, but just yeah, erring towards meditation, spirituality, and as you said, yeah, when you kind of using slow-mo, I mean, to kind of do a process like that for such a long time, everything to kind of always be a step removed. Yeah, life is a kind of madness really, and a beautiful. I mean, it is kind of surreal in its nature. It's even the most banal things are kind of beautiful for me, and sort of deserving of framing in some manner, picking apart, even having a nice little steak on your own. I don't smoke, but you know, I'm just pointing that out. A lot of it came down to the editor, Adam Biskupski. Yeah, we were looking at long cuts for a long time. I think we were kind of working with something like that was over an hour, certainly, and yeah, there was a point where our kind of deadline was nearing, and there was but basically, yeah, just in terms of the limit we had in terms of being short film, it had to be under a certain amount of time. That period that Adam kind of crunched it, and just yeah, that was a sort of magical moment really. You kind of like found the tempo is a bit of a cold word, but the sort of the tightness of the language, I guess, and the feeling, and yeah, I mean, him and Jackie and Stefan and Zane, everyone had their kind of freedom of approach and interpretation democratically, and yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's nice to hear that. Just yeah, there's a lot of Adam in particular. Yeah, he's an absolute gem to say the least. But yeah, it's a lot down to him. When we crunched that, it was nice to kind of like then just chip away.
My new favourite bit is the guy who works at Argos getting smashed.
Yeah.
And keeping his work uniform on.
Yeah, I don't think he lived in the estate. I don't think they knew him. He just kind of appeared 2 or 3 times, because I went and revisited, and I spotted him wearing his Argos gear. Yeah. Again, it encaptures the original sort of core, simple, minimalist ethos, I guess. Just to look at others, feel what you're feeling, and then reflect on that, be challenged by your previous notions perhaps of situations, of what you might have read in the newspaper, of groups of people, communities, individuals. So